Hi, beautiful. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to my channel. Um, the topic I have to talk about today, to say that I'm excited to talk about this is an understatement. So, I want to talk about people pleasing. And I just came from work. I did a driving shift, but I was so excited to come home and film this video. So, anyway, let's get started. First of all, what is people pleasing? I'm going to be reading from my notes because I just came down and wrote on a whole bunch of stuff. So, people pleasing is the tendency of an individual to go out of their way to make others happy or gain their approval, often at the expense of their own needs and well being. So, if you found yourself doing something you're extremely uncomfortable, that makes you feel extremely uncomfortable, but you're like, you want to make other people smile, and you don't want to do it, but you want to make someone smile, you're people pleasing. So I want to give you a heads up. For one, you will never ever in a million years be able to please everyone around you. You are not God. So get off your high horse and get back to earth with the rest of us, because you're not God. People pleasing is egotistical. It might sound surprising to you, but you're being egotistic by trying to please everyone because you're trying to control everyone that's around you. Who do you think you are? You are not God. So, and you're going out of your way, making yourself so uncomfortable because you want to please people. So, where I grew up, there's a lot of people pleasing because we are raised to be the good girl, to be the one that's high achiever at school, and you end up wanting to, you know, I think we have a fear of being the bad girl, and sometimes you feel like when you speak your mind, you are being mean or you're being the bad girl. So being raised with the mentality of a good girl has I found myself in situations where I didn't want other people to feel bad, and I would end up doing things I didn't want to do. So I know that there's a lot of people out there that find themselves people pleasing, and you would be surprised. Wanting someone to feel good is one thing, and that's a good thing. To want to, bring pleasure and bring joy and happiness into other people's lives. And what's the expense? You can tell the difference between, people pleasing and being a good person in general by how you feel deep down inside. So let's look at some examples. One of the examples of people pleasing is when you find yourself not being able to say no, even when you know you want to say no. You're being a people pleaser. You're afraid to say no to someone because you're afraid to hurt their feelings, or you're afraid of how they're going to react. And all this stems from different things, like your childhood, or like, your character is built by your surroundings. So maybe how you were raised, and maybe many a times when you said no, it didn't turn out well for you, and ignoring your personal boundaries. So an example that I would give is when I go to work and I have to like cook for the clients. I'm not supposed to. I don't eat pork. I don't touch pork. I hate the smell of pork. And no offense to anyone that eats pork, but I don't eat pork. So when I get to work and my clients have pork on the menu, everybody around me knows that Hidayah does not cook pork. So it's either I'm cooking something different, or somebody else is gonna have to cook. So if you find yourself in a situation like that and you end up cooking, if I found myself ending up cooking the pork, I'm crossing my own boundaries because I don't want people to feel bad. um, constantly seeking validation or trying to get a positive feedback from someone from something that you did, you know. um I don't know what example to give, but you want to be praised all the time. You want someone to say, oh, that's nice, oh, that's the you're a good person, or like, well, you know, you like, do you know who you are? Do you know who you are deep down inside? If you know who you are, you don't need anyone to tell you who you are, or like, you don't need anyone to convince you that you're a good person. You know you're a good person. So trying to find someone to tell you that you're a good person is a form of people pleasing. Okay, so when you find yourself avoiding conflict, you know, you're avoiding conflict or like a disagreement because you don't want to hurt the other people's feelings, or you don't want to express your own feelings. I found myself in these kinds of situations a lot when I had just moved away from home, because I found myself surrounded by so many different characters, and where I come from, we don't speak up that much. So I found that the louder people in the room intimidated me, despite the fact that I had a front, like I wore a mask of, I have like I wore a mask, or that would reflect do not mess with me. But deep down inside, people that were loud and like spoke whatever was on their mind, they intimidated me. And so I found myself in situations where, when even when I didn't agree with someone, I did not express my opinions because I didn't want to get into a back and forth with them, you know. I was so afraid of confrontations, and I just figured out that that was people pleasing because I didn't want to hurt their feelings, or like I didn't want to get into it with them, because where I come from, we don't yell. We don't like, we don't yell, because why are you yelling at me? So, and I found that people would raise their voices in you know, in situations where they wanted to get their way, and I would find myself keeping quiet, holding back, and not expressing exactly how I felt. And now I find that I can say how I feel, I can express my opinion, and you could scream away, you know. I could shut you out. So you can scream, but you're gonna hear what I have to say. Or if you don't want to hear what I have to say, I'm gonna do as I please, and we can go from there. All right. So another example of people pleasing is taking on more responsibilities, taking on more than you can handle, saying yes to way more than you can handle. You find yourself overwhelmed because you're afraid to say no. Remember, afraid to say no to people. So when you are taking on a task, or when someone asks you to do something, uh, give yourself 5 seconds before you respond. Make sure it's okay that you're going to take on this task, be it at work or at home, even in a relationship with your partner, even a relationship with your parents or your siblings, because you want to show up as your like authentic self. And you can't do that if you keep doing things that hold you back, you know. You cannot progress if you're taking on way more than you need to take on. So this also leads into hiding how you truly feel, because you're afraid that how you truly feel is going to hurt other people. So when something does not sit well with you, and it goes back to the point where you're avoiding conflict, agreeing with other people to avoid conflict, and then you feel responsible for other people's emotions. Why? You're not responsible for how they feel. They are responsible for how they feel. If you say something and it hurts their feelings, that is not none of your business, because you're not going to be able to control how anybody feels. The only person whose feelings you're responsible for is you. So when you go out of your way, because this used to happen to me, like when I had just moved to this country, when I would find myself driving, and it was my very first time using GPS. So like I would go to places that are new to me, and when it was time for me to take a turn, I wouldn't want to slow down because I didn't want to slow down the person behind me. I was afraid they were going to be so like angry, or they're going to be like, slow. What's the person doing? But it's like, I'm trying to get somewhere, you know? And the person behind me, I don't know what they're up to. If they're in a rush, that's their business. I'm not responsible for why they're late, you know? So I found myself in situations like that, being afraid of what people thought of me, even when I was driving, jeopardizing my safety, jeopardizing like my time, because by not slowing down, I could pass by where I'm supposed to take a turn. And that would lead to me getting led to wherever I was supposed to be, right? By not slowing down to like make sure I'm taking the right turn, I might suddenly take a turn and cause an accident, jeopardizing my safety, right? So it's like putting other people ahead of you is never safe. It's dangerous to put other people ahead of you. So avoid. Oh, what happened? Avoiding criticism at all costs. I was one person that was so afraid of being criticized. But remember, when you're afraid of being criticized, you are not going to grow. The only way to grow is to be able to receive constructive criticism. And even when the criticism comes in and it's destructive, you need to be able to trust yourself to know that you'll be able to overcome whatever you're feeling. You'll be able to respond appropriately to the destructive criticism. You know, someone's going to come and say something to you, and at the end of the day, it's not their responsibility how you take it. They will see what they're responsible for is the words that are coming out of their mouth, right? Your response to whatever they said to you is your responsibility. You get that? So, okay, so now after all that, all those examples of people pleasing, let's find out how we can stop people pleasing. How I stopped people pleasing was I developed an awareness of the fact that I was a people pleaser. I developed I came to know that, you know, you figure out that you're a people pleaser, set some boundaries, and develop your confidence, you know. So you need to know that it takes time. Like, so for example, I am 33 years old, and I want to say that I stopped being a people pleaser maybe a year ago. And you need to know that I had 32 years of people pleasing built into my core. So I had to give myself grace and I had to be patient with myself to be able to let it go. So know that it's going to take time, but allow yourself to take the time for you. So give yourself grace. By finding out where the your people pleasing stems from, you give yourself a chance to let it go. By setting boundaries and knowing what feels good to you and what does not feel good to you, you will be able to overcome people pleasing. Setting boundaries, you're not going to set boundaries to people, you're going to set boundaries within yourself. Because you showing up and reading your boundaries to people does it's not going to make a difference, because someone can sniff people pleasing off of you. I don't know how best to explain it, but a wise woman once told me that the same way a dog senses. The same way a dog they say that animals see things that we don't see, or like a chicken will see a ghost or something like that, you know. So when you show up as a people pleaser, people will sniff it off of you. Like people will sniff it off of you and know that this one is a doormat. Even if you show up with a front, like the one that I always had on, of you can't mess with me, I always ended up as a doormat. I ended up in the wrong relationships. I ended up in, and I'm like, what's going on? But like, now I know that this is how humans are built. They will sniff you out. You know, like the same way a predator sniffs out its prey. A person that intends to take advantage of you will sniff you out. Personal self-care. My understanding of personal self-care is you taking time for yourself. You know, you taking time for yourself, taking time to do the activities that feel good to you, to, you know, taking time to take care of your health, and give yourself space to breathe, allow yourself to show up as you. Practice assertiveness. Oh my god, I read a book, The Art of Everyday Assertiveness, and this book is amazing. That it's one book that I can recommend for you to read, to be able to overcome your people pleasing mentality, or people pleasing characters, or whatever it is that you want to call it. When you learn to be assertive, you're able to communicate how you're feeling, your feelings, your emotions, your opinions. You know, you're not afraid to speak up. When something does not go your way, you're able to show up and say, this is what I want, and this is what I will accept, and this is something I will not accept. Okay, so about building self-confidence is another way to overcome people pleasing. So you need to be able to acknowledge your strengths, your weaknesses, celebrate your accomplishments, focus on your values and your beliefs. So we all have areas of strengths, we have areas of weaknesses, and when you know these things about yourself, you know who you are. Like, it's, for example, me not eating pork and not cooking it, these are my religious values and beliefs, and I know that these are my religious values and beliefs, and I focus on that when I'm making a decision. All right, so let me summarize this. When you need to learn to sit in discomfort. It's going to be very uncomfortable adjusting to this new self. So be okay being uncomfortable, because it's going to be uncomfortable, but that's okay. Be compassionate with yourself. It's okay not to be perfect. You are not perfection. There is nobody that's perfect. You're not an angel. You're not God. You're not a prophet. Embrace your authentic self. You don't need to conform to others' expectations to be valued. Know that you're valued. Know that you are valuable. And that way, this knowledge will let you release all kinds of wanting validation and acceptance and praise from other people. So I hope this video was helpful, and it feels so good to have let all this information off of my chest, because I was so excited. So I will see you the next time I feel so excited to share something. Ciao.